welcome back to the channel. That was perfect. I caught Corey at the right time. We're going to do something fun today. We are going to switch instruments. On the spot, we're going to see if we can switch instruments, and can Corey play mine, can I play hers coherently enough to play a song. So we're actually going to play it one time through with us playing the instruments we normally play.
So we can take notes and learn.
Yep, and then we're going to switch.
This is a really good idea. Katie had this video idea, and she told me yesterday, she's like, I got this idea, and I was like, okay. And we thought this would just be really fun to see, because see, I started on the fiddle, and we might have mentioned this on the channel, but it's been a long time, and if you're new to the channel, I started playing the fiddle in 8th grade in a school program, and I was missing my math class. I was about to go to high school, so they said, okay, you can't be doing that, and that made me have to join the advanced class. All that to say, I had a hard time. I had a wonderful teacher. He was the retired director of the Atlanta Symphony, and it was a lot of classical music, which, you know, we never really grew up listening to classical music, although I do think it's very beautiful.
Oh yeah.
And it was just really difficult, and I didn't really stick with it very long. I played the fiddle for maybe a year and a half, 2 years max maybe, and then I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. And there was a guitar in the house, and I ended up playing a guitar. And anyways, all that to say, I still maybe have retained a little bit of knowledge, a little bit of muscle memory from the fiddle, but not much.
We're going to see just how much you've retained. I don't know a whole lot about the guitar, and it doesn't take long at all, and my fingers become very sore playing a flat top guitar. So the song we're going to play is actually the march that got played at Corey's wedding, and the song is called Mari's Wedding, which is very fitting, talking about wedding. So we do have a full version of this too that we'll link to, and this is one of the very first songs that I learned on the fiddle after I kind of graduated from my little 8th grade there and went on to play other stuff. This was one of the very first songs that I learned. It is, yeah.
This will increase my chances of being able to play.
Yes.
Maybe a little.
Play it once through normal, and then a second time will give us a time to watch.
Okay.
And then we'll just do it.
Yeah.
Switching instruments. Can we play each other's instruments on the spot? And just so you know, it's not like we rehearsed off of camera.
No,
it's not like we were like, yeah, we've been practicing this, so we'll look good. No. I come up with this idea last night, and I was like, let's do it. So, 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and...
I can't play guitar either.
So here's, let me give you a little bit of, I'm going to give you a little bit of advice, you give me a little bit of advice. If you need to move this, take it off or adjust it, we can do that. I would just, for comfort, so you don't end up with your neck hurting while we're sitting here doing this, or your back hurting, I would just try to go between, I always tell people to go between here and then to the extreme there. Find somewhere in the middle. And what I would do if I were you, since you've been away from this long enough to come back to it fresh, just don't have the temptation to do that. And then as far as the bow goes, I like to hold mine like that, but you're just going to have to do whatever, especially since your wrist is hurting, whatever is comfortable. But I always said, if it looks like you have the arthritis hands, you're doing it right. I like to stack my knuckles. You see how my knuckles are stacked? And my hands sometimes can end up really spread out. You should be able to put, unless you have tiny baby hands, you should be able to put the top of your finger at the top of that wire wrap and take your pinky all the way down as far as it'll go.
Okay.
But when I get real lazy, I'll only play with these 3 fingers. Occasionally, if I'm really lazy, I'll only play with these. That's kind of hard. But so I'm going to give you this. There's enough rosin on the bow, so
I don't know if I have any tips for you or not.
Okay.
Playing the guitar is so much easier.
Well,
So
I'm thinking about some of the stuff we were talking about the other night. So this song goes from G to C to D. I know, I watched. No, I don't think that's cheating. I mean, you may need help finding some of the melody.
Well, that's true,
and that's okay if you do. And I watched while you were playing anyway, which I knew as much that this is a 3-chord song.
We're going to exchange a pick for a stick.
There you go.
Thank you. All right, folks.
I'll have to figure out where I can...
Oh, do we need to switch seats?
I'd say we switch, yeah, to be on the right opposite sides.
There you go. That way you're not...
Ooh, I'm sorry.
Oh, you're fine. See, this feels so... I'm like, oh my gosh.
So here's what... Let go. I got it, let go. So here's what you want to do. You want to do that... First of all, you just have to find where it's comfortable. Your chin should be in that black thing. It's not in the black thing. And you shouldn't have to lean over. That's going to hurt your neck. You need to be sitting up with it, kind of. Yeah, there you go.
My neck ain't as long
Rotate your whole self. There you go. You do have to have good posture when you play. There you go. And your neck may not be as long. No, see? Do you see the curvature?
No, I don't.
Do you feel that curvature? Look, your chin is supposed to be in that. Is your neck not as tall as mine?
No.
Do you want me to fix that for you? Take it down some?
Is this right? This is so uncomfortable.
Here. Let's take this.
I'm like, I can't get my neck up there anymore.
Hold that.
What would it be like without it?
Try it. I can't do it without it. I cannot. But if you can, go for it.
I don't think I can. It tries to slip out. I don't have a giraffe neck like you do.
I don't think I have a giraffe neck either. But
I'm just kidding. You got a good neck, but...
Thank you.
Okay, I got it. I got it. Don't start ahead of me, little one. All right. Do 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 do.
You play first. How do you remember that? So where does it go in that second part?
Oh man.
Okay, that was
Absolutely terrible.
two things though. Number one, I thought we'd have to run through all the notes. I didn't. That's kind of hard to believe that your muscle memory from like 10 years ago just played that. It's actually really hard to believe because, like I said, we didn't. It's not like off the camera we were like, let's rehearse so we look impressive. We literally just did this, and Corey's muscle memory.
That was like the first song I learned.
We just did all of this like right now, and I was thinking that we were gonna have to like sit and go slow, and I'll have to teach you. But we literally just started. We just jumped right in.
Now the quality of the playing was terrible.
He did surprise me,
but I did know the notes. I missed some because
the second thing I was going to say for anybody that's ever tried to play the fiddle, a lot of the times when you very first start playing, you don't hardly get any sound. You don't get a clear sound at all. You could make the notes out when you play. Most of the time, you just get a screeching sound. So to even get something that sounds like a song, even to be able to make that sound is pretty impressive.
Yeah, you did pretty good.
Nah, it wasn't great.
But I will say the fiddle is the hardest, in my opinion, instrument to learn. We had a friend one time, and I think he put it well. He said the first year on fiddle, you're bad. Second year on fiddle, you're bad. Third year on fiddle, you're bad. But after that, it starts to turn around.
Yeah, that's pretty much true.
I think that's true. Depends on how much you practice it, of course. But those notes weren't like perfectly spot on. But that's the thing with playing the fiddle. You don't have frets.
Nope.
When I had the original fiddle that I played, they drew frets on for me with whiteout just because it made it easier.
As a beginning thing.
And then eventually you take them off. But playing it just with my thumb, just like a pick, for the most part, the notes were a lot more sure, if that makes sense, a lot more true. But then I do this, and then you're looking at it like this instead of straight up and down.
Oh, yeah.
Why could I not make my fingers do the same thing? I hit all the notes either too sharp or too flat.
It's a different plane of playing because this is a plane that you're used to, and that's a different plane. And even your left hand being held in the air is different. So then another thing that I'll mention too is when I very first started, or even now when I very first start learning a tune, I'll hold it down like you are and I'll pluck it because it's easier to do that than it is to bow it. So it's like it's hard to do two things at once. Like you can't pat your head and scratch your belly at the same time. You know, the whole kind of thing. So taking one complicated thing away, like when I'm trying to learn a song on guitar, I'll do the same thing. I'll sit here and phantom change when I think I should change chords.
Yeah.
And then I'll add practice both things separate. I can't play that fast.
It's way easier to play like that. You logically think this can't really be that hard, but then you pick it up and you go to it and you're just, it's like your hand just does that and you're like, don't do that, hand. But it's not what happens, but that's the best way to explain it, because when the bow hits the strings, you just don't have control.
It's the same thing I have. I feel like my pick hand, I have no depth. I'm always coming in and out. It's really hard because you feel like there's that sweet spot between the bridge and the sound fingerboard there, and it's hard. You wash all over it, and that's the same thing as I was talking about when I was playing back here. Like Corey feels like she's like this. Well, I feel like that. I'm like back here. I'm over here. There's no depth. Like 1 minute I can hear myself do that. But didn't.
No, it's fine.
That's why that pick guard's there. And then sometimes I feel like I'm trying to do this. Other times I'm like, it's usually the left hand, the chording hand, that has the easy job because you're just chording, hitting notes. But then it's putting them both together that's really...
Oh, yeah.
Because I could sit here and be like, I might be able to sit here and go...
Yeah, that hand is, especially from the fiddle. From the fiddle, your chording hand is better than mine, probably. Maybe not with chords, but with melody. With melody, your left hand is better than mine because I've never played much melody. Until
yeah, and
now,
then,
little bits and pieces, I've mostly played chords.
When it comes to chording, I'm like, I just struggle.
But that's the easy part. Chords
No, not to me.
melody.
But it depends on what you come from. And it feels stupid to be like... But then I can't. What? Can't hit the bass notes. And that hurts me. And it's different. Like it hurts my hand. Not even just my fingers. Of course that's normal. The strings do.
Back in your fingers, not just the tips of your fingers.
But the melody thing, you get used to your fingers doing all this stuff. Yeah. And then your wrist having to I could probably...
Yeah, you gotta stretch a lot.
I have a good stretch. Like
this. You can probably do 4 frets.
I could probably do some crazy stuff. But then again, when it comes to just this right here, I really struggle. And it didn't look like I was struggling, but I feel like I'm just barely keeping up.
Well, it sounded good, but that really proves that for instruments,
I can do 5 frets.
It takes, there you go, it takes a lot of time, and not just skill, because you can build skill over time, but it really takes time. And I do think the more instruments you learn how to play, it makes it easier to learn how to play the next one. My fiddle playing was not great, but I did retain the muscle memory.
Yes.
But from playing other instruments, even though mostly I just chord on that, whenever you go to learn another instrument, you kind of take that music knowledge with you. It translates into something else because it's not the same instrument. But anything I learn musically, I feel like anything that I would learn here, somehow when I go back to the guitar, like I can take that with me. I don't know if that makes sense.
No, it does. A lot of it is intonation. And it's what you were talking about, like, how do you know with the frets? Like, how do you know that you're not on the right frets?
It just comes with a lot of time, because like with guitar, it's easier because there are frets, but when you're a beginner, you have to look a lot.
You do, and then you also have to ask yourself, where at? Like, on the back?
Because you have about that much space. I think you have a little bit more space. You can get away with a little bit more on the guitar than you can fiddle. But for a long time, you have to look while you're playing. But you eventually get to a point where you just know what it's supposed to feel like, and you can play anything, and you'd never have to look. Because it's just
and I feel like I have to look, and I feel like I have to look here,
like
too.
With this, I'm like, let me play, but I gotta...
Right, and I'm like, but there's 6 strings. How do I know?
But you eventually get to where you just feel.
Right, and it's the same thing with that. Like, we'll switch back, and we'll do something here. I'll show you. Let's play that song again, and let's both close our eyes.
Yeah.
And see, it helps you melody-wise, like to pick it out there since you've already done it here. Oops. Now I'll never get this back down where I had it. Oops. 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and...
Easier than playing the fiddle.
It's funny, it's just what you get used to, because for me somehow the bowing seems easier because it's less right here in your fingers and your hands doing the hard work, and it feels like more of your arm.
Yeah,
more
but for me it's just a big stick, and I'm like, what? I'd rather just have this little pick.
It just feels easy to, I don't know. It's what you get used to, but you're right about it. If you learn one instrument, you can take what you've learned. Even if people will be like, well, the piano is completely different than a stringed instrument and all that.
But kind of the theory of it's the same as guitar.
It is, yeah. But you could even take that, going from stringed instruments to wind instruments to any of it, the intonation of what happens between the notes and how they come out never changes from instrument to instrument.
And of course, the scale degrees, intervals,
the actual
notes,
music,
the actual kind of theory and all that behind it will be the same.
Always. This has been fun, and I would encourage anybody, and of course, not just with music, but you should chase whatever you want to do. Chase your dreams. If it's a musical instrument you always wanted to learn, you can do it. Stick with it. You'll be glad you put the time in, and time flies. In a few years, you'll be like, I can't believe I've been playing for 4 or 5 years, or whatever it is you want to do.
Yeah, we're a big encouragers of pick up instruments, especially guitar. Y'all, look, if I can play guitar, anybody can. Guitar is like the easiest instrument that there is to learn, and it's so fun because you can play and sing so many songs or accompany other instruments, and it's just a lot of fun. This has been a fun video, fun idea to just trade. I kind of surprised myself with my remembrance of the notes. You know, the actual bowing part was pretty bad, but that was pretty fun.
That wasn't bad either. I was pretty impressed. I actually was. I was like, because like I said, I thought, okay, well, I'll show Corey. We'll go through the A part, we'll go through the B part, and you were like, ready? And I was like, okay. And we just off we went. So that just goes to show muscle memory is really strong. So maybe you've already been playing an instrument and you're like, I've not played in several years.
Yeah, pick it back up.
You have retained more than what you believe you've retained. So, right then.
God bless you. God keep you. Go find an instrument to play.
We'll catch you at the next one.